I know that, and I see that, and we see that in society. But we go look today, see what's really going on. We're gonna take a examination of this, right? So, like I said, those of you who like the video, please subscribe. Please like the video. Get me analytics up so we can, box with the AI. You know what I mean? But like I said, we're gonna get into this, y'all. Um, check out, please check out all my books on Amazon.com. Got a little book, dealing with birth certificates, also dealing with nationality birthright. The list goes on. Dealing with marriage. And please check out the journal. If y'all want to get a blank journal, I need a blank journal for writing down stuff. If you get your spirituality, you might want to write down our stuff. You might want to write down our dreams. You know what I mean? You might want to, use it for school. It's a great African-centered cultural, indigenous patterns. To show off your cultural, understanding. So please check that out. You know what I'm saying? And we definitely gonna get this with. We're gonna get into it. And it's just gonna be me tonight anyway. So y'all, let's get into this, man. Y'all wanna hit me up for some knowledge, hit me up for the like we do the membership. You guys wanna get the membership because all this tie back to religion and spiritual practices, right? And because we see the trend, our people are going back to their creed of their ancient forefathers and foremothers, regardless of something or not. And we're gonna get into this because the question is this. The question is Western Christianity or Western religion on the decline? Is Western religion on the decline? I am going to say it is on the decline. But I do believe we are on the cusp of a decline. I have definitely, I say in the past 10 years, there has been a decline in Christianity, predominantly in the United States. Let me see something. Hello, God. Can you hear me? Okay. All right. All right, y'all. Let me know if y'all can hear me in the chat. Let me go to the comments. Let me know if y'all can hear me now in the chat room. Cause I had this new mic. I don't know what's going on. Let me know if y'all can hear me though. I'm gonna remove this again, and we gonna get back. I think my mic is not muted. So can y'all hear me in the? Can y'all hear me now? All right, all right. I gotta check my mic, my headphones, man. I just got these new headphones. I was trying to use them, and oh man, you know how that go. But look, check it out. So is Western religion on the decline? I want to know because, like I say yes. I say Western religion is on the decline, and a lot of that has to do with the new age we're in. I feel like coming into this age of Aquarius, the age of knowledge and information, has made it where we have the ability to understand, learn a lot more about God, about the history of religions. Um, One of the main things I feel like Christianity used to its advantage, and not. I'm not saying that Christianity is the only one because, I mean, you got Islam and other these things of that too. But what Christianity did was they used a lot of deceit and hidden information in order to, control the people in their populations. Because Europeans were the first ones to convert and be forced into Christianity. So a lot of information wasn't told, and that information and that way of life, spread to the way of Western life in America. So the Americas predominantly, like down south, Catholics, down in Southern America, Mexico, a lot of Spanish were Catholic, and a lot of the people coming in the North America, predominantly the British, they were Protestant. So you got these two different groups of Christianity that wind up taking over America, but that they have been on top for the past 200-300 years of American history. Christianity itself has been for over 1,200 years. So everything has a coming and a going, and I feel like Christianity been around at least 2,000 years, if not dominant for like 1,200. Is it on the decline? So let's just look at what's going on in the world, right? So what it say right here is, it say that Christianity has been the world's most popular Abrahamic religion since its emergence over the 2,000 years ago. But it will lose its place to Islam at the end of the 21st century. And this is from the Pew Research Center. So let's look at that. Let's examine that. This is one of the things also that is telling me that the trend of Christianity is starting to decline, because you have the rise of Islam. Islam is the fastest growing religion in the world. Now, Islam is a Western religion. It is classified as a Western religion, as you will begin to see later. So let's look at like Abrahamic religion, right? When people refer to Abrahamic religions, they are usually thinking of Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. So anytime that y'all hear me and a lot of people, when they talk about westernized religion, Islam and Judaism is also part of that. And a lot of people don't look at it like that, but if you really look at it, Christianity started in the Middle East, right? You think about Christianity, it started with Christ, or what y'all call Jesus, which was predominantly in Israel. That area today would be considered the Middle East, right? Because who's there now? The people who live there are Palestinians. They're Islamic. So Christianity started in the Middle East, and so did Islam. And if you really were funny, like Judaism started really in the Middle East too, which is in Canaan. So like really these three religions, these so-called Western religion, really is like Middle Eastern origin, but they all play a part because they all go back to Abraham, hence the word Abrahamic. And because they all go back to Abrahamic, they all have different parts that play together. So like if you look at in the Quran, the Prophet Muhammad, peace be unto him, he was meditating and seeing Gabriel, the angel, and he told him to recite. So like that same Gabriel is found in Hebrew, or Christians following that. So those three religions do interrelate to each other. And on a side note, if you guys are studying that, you need to study all three of them. Like it would be wise for you to look at all three of those books or religions, because they all play a part together. They're like sitcoms, and they're you got offshoot, like a sitcom spinoff. You got a spinoff, you know what I mean? So
it is important for you to look at those things. But so when we refer to Abrahamic religion, that's what we're talking about. All right. So let's look at this. According to various scholars and sources in Pentecostalism, a Protestant Christian movement, they say that this is the fastest growing religion in the world. This growth is primarily due to religious conversion. So you're like, well, I thought you were saying that Christianity is on its way out. Well, Christianity is in a decline, but one of the fastest growing Christian religions is Pentecostal. So even though Islam is one of the major religions that's on the rise, Pentecostal is probably the biggest spreading Christian religion. Okay, now, um, you know, Pentecostal Pentecostal religion is different, than what your typical Christian religion is. It is to me personally, Pentecostal deal with the Holy Ghost, right? And in order for you to be a Pentecostal, you have to receive the Holy Ghost. And a lot of those Pentecostal churches often remind me of indigenous African type religions. Like if you go to a ritual with you like a Santeria or even maybe like Yoruba, a lot of what you see in the Pentecostal church, you'll see the same thing in African traditional rituals, right? Like the way they move, like how they be possessed by the Holy Ghost. All those things are very similar to how some of the Orisha possess us in ritual, right? So I do want to make that mention, like Christianity, you know, this is the part where people be like, well, I don't see Christianity going out. Well, they do have Pentecostal as one of the major forces in Christianity that grow. The rest of them ain't really growing like that. Like Catholics ain't growing. They're in a decline. Let's keep it up though. Let's keep going, y'all. All right. Currently, the two fastest growing religion movements in the world is Pentecostal and Islam. Okay, but what makes me feel like those religions are cool, but things are growing in other non-Christian religions? I think there are non-Christian religions or non-Western per se religions that are starting to grow. Okay, one of them we'll look at it as the New Age, right? The popularity of the New Age movement, Eastern religions, transcendental meditation is growing rapidly in today's modern culture. So you're like, well, really? Is it really? Let me show. Let's look at this and let's think about it. If you look at television, you look at TV today. I'll give you an example. Um, She's Gotta Have It. If anybody's seen She Gotta Have It, right? With Spike Lee did it on Netflix, right? The main focus religion, the main religion in that show is not Christianity, right? Uh, that show got a lot of Latin influence. Okay, there's it's in New York, which is got a very high Latino influence in Bronx and different parts of the city, New York, right? So it's a lot of melanated people from like Latinos melanated, and then from your American melanated, like African, so-called African American or black aspect, right? Okay, so these two groups intermingle, but the main religion that they practicing is Santeria. Okay, if you watch that show Santeria, they doing like doing bath washing in the tub. I forgot, like they doing it to like Yemiya. Yemiya is predominant. Now, why you say this is important? Well, if you look back, if you went back 20, 30 years ago, you didn't see hardly any type of African or any non-Christian presence in TV. Non-Christian presence. You didn't see that. If you go back and look, you'll see most of the religious people, they always wore a white collar, and they always seem to be a Protestant, like a Anglican church type setting. That's what you see in most of the movies, right? You'll see always a Christian influence. Well, if you look at today's TV, they are getting away from that. You don't find that Christian values are the dominant as they were on TV. Okay, which one? Oh, Queen Sugar. If anybody watched Queen Sugar, you watch Queen Sugar. They give slight hints to church, right? But a lot of what they doing go back to their ancestors. They practicing, African culture. They're not focused on showing you Christian values in that way, right? I barely ever heard them talking about Christ. I barely ever heard any of that, right? I see that a lot more on TV than I used to. So that's one thing. The second thing is this. If y'all are on TikTok or on social media, predominantly even on YouTube, you'll find that there's an increase of people that do tarot cards. There's an increase of people using sage. Okay? There are even a lot more witches. If you watch everything, you can see there's been an increase of women practicing witchcraft than you ever have seen before. So the popularity of New Age is prevalent in today's society a lot more than it was, like I said, 20 years ago. Okay? I'm going to keep showing y'all this, okay? Let's understand the New Age movement, okay? And I'm not here to, talk about the New Age as if it's like the devil or anything like that, but we talking about what is the New Age. It is a range of spiritual and religious practices and beliefs which rapidly grew in Western society during the 1970s. So New Age encompasses a large array of different religious or spirituality. So what I'm saying is, when you see a lot of people today moving away from Christian values and they becoming witches, that's New Age. That would be considered New Age. When you hear Erykah Badu, that's New Age. When you see things of that nature, these are New Age thoughts, right? And like I said, there has been a large increase in, the use of frankincense and myrrh with people. You see a lot more people embracing African culture, African or indigenous, even indigenous to the Americas. People are starting to practice these things. Palo Santo. How many people knew what the heck Palo Santo was 20 years ago? And it's been around forever, right? But now you see people burning Palo Santo, right? Everybody burning sage. They wasn't doing that. That's New Age. And I'm not saying New Age in a negative way. I'm just saying the new spiritual practices. But let's keep it real. These practices really ain't new, right? These practices really ain't new. All right? They call it New Age, right? New Age are old spiritual practices of indigenous people remixed by Western society. Okay? So you got Madame Blavatsky and whatnot, right? Those people from back then, they brought a lot of Christian stuff, into the mix, right? Let's go on. What's good, family? Shout out. Okay, I see you, New Jersey, right? Lakumi, yes sir, right? So, what I'm seeing with our people, is that I see more and more of our people waking up. What we call woke. The whole The whole term of being woke is signifying that there's been an awakening of the mind to the people, right? And because that awakening of the mind to the people, it's changing the way that they looking at religion. Okay, like I said, Christianity been around for 2,000 years, and basically 2,000 years, a little bit more, give or take, right? That's roughly the time of an age. If anybody know how long an age is how long it takes for us to go through one zodiac sign. It takes roughly like 2,100 years, roughly, like 2,140 years for us to go through a house of the zodiac. And with that, it changes the energies on the planet. Now, y'all can believe that or not, but I do believe that things change as we're going through space and time, that we're going to change into different energies, right? So we're going into an age now where you can see, like I said, you can see that there's a technological change where that we have information at the speed of light almost, right? So that is definitely shifting and changing the people's mind now that they're able to access information that had really been cut off to Western world for so long. So that takes me right back to what we saying, that information that had been cut off from the Westerners for so long because of Catholicism and Christianity is now re-emerging on the scene, and it's called New Age. Okay, so we all understand that New Age is not really new. Okay, so let's keep going. So New Age, we understand the New Age. So now let's look at like what's going on with Christianity in the decline, right? I was looking it up, and it said a comprehensive demographic study of more than 200 countries find that there is roughly 2.18 billion Christians of all ages around the world. So that's a lot of people, right? That's a lot of people that's Christian. But you would think that, oh, okay, like I said, Christianity is like not like just gonna disappear like poof like next year, or the next, in the next 10, 20 years, Christianity is not gonna disappear. I believe that Christianity is still gonna be the majority of people for some time. We just coming into the age of Aquarius. So all I'm saying is I'm starting to see a change in people's mind, and that more and more people are starting to wake up and leave Christianity. But to be realistic, I gotta show you guys how far the extent Christianity run. Okay? But there is a change in what's going on with Christianity, right? Especially in America. Like when we look at the United States, there is something going on, and really in the world, what's going on with Christianity. Even though Christianity is strong, it's a lot of people. When we think about Christianity, we often have thought about white people, right? White people, Christianity portrays a white image, okay, with white Jesus, you can't get a black so-called melanated person to be Jesus. They don't have no dark-skinned people doing Jesus, even today, even now past all the Moses, what they did back in the 60s. You see what I'm saying? Like you had Moses, you had Cleopatra, and they were all whitewashed, right? Even today, you still can't get Jesus as a dark-skinned or a melanated character. They still play him as white, right? So, but what's happening with the U.S. population? White Christians are now the minority of the U.S. population. So, the majority of Christians today are Albion. They call them white. We call them Albions because white and black. But um, you know, I say to my brother Johnny Rockwell, I say Jesus is issue. And we can get into that, man. Like I'm like to digress a little bit on the question, and I like that. Jesus is issue in leukemia because the cross representing the crossroads. Right, right. Jesus can be used as the crossroads, right? You got to understand though, like what they did with Christianity. They took Christianity and they merged it with indigenous culture to kind of hide it or to make it, I guess I'm gonna say more palatable, to make it more palatable to these Western white European, Westerners that were over here because they was all Christian, and so, you incorporated Christian um, people. The saints. You bring the saints in, and bring Jesus in. The other night we talked about hoodoo. We talked about how hoodoo, incorporate the Bible and uses the Bible to do spells. So that's what you see a lot of. But even with that being said, like that bring, and I like the way you moving, brother, because that brings me to the point back to what we saying about how Christianity is changing, right? Like Christianity is taking on non-white people for the first time in history. For the first time in recorded history, Christianity, as is known, is now not dominated by white. It's no longer the majority of people in North America, but predominantly in the world, because Christianity is growing in third world countries. And I use the word third world lightly, but I'm gonna say not even that, but more of non-Western countries are becoming more Christian. So we got countries like in Africa and whatnot that are growing in Christianity. But when other cultures take on your religion, it changes. It changes. Just like when you see Africans taking Christianity and merging it with their indigenous culture. So even when Christians, like me and my brother talk about, brother JB, when people adopt the religion of Christianity, it often still takes on their cultural beliefs and practices. So Christianity is changing anyway because it's losing its original group of people that was the custodial of it. Now, I read an article back in back in like 2001. I can't find this article, but the article basically was saying how Christianity around the world was shifting from white people, so-called whites and Westerners, into non-Western people and melanated people. But the article ended by saying that even though it's changing of hands, will it continue to be the mindset of the people? So even though it's a new group of people taking on Christianity, they were saying that the doctrine of Christianity would stay intact and that Western thought or religion would still live on in these melanated people. So we understand like religion and things that are certain, they can be a mind control. They control and behave. Religion can control behavior based on what is taught. And for us, we have been taught in Christianity, so we understand Christian principles and values, and that's how we tend to live off of. So even though Western people are moving on and becoming the minority, their thinking is still contained in their religious their doctrines. Okay, so we got to take that into consideration, right? But let's keep going, right? So, like we said, white Christians are the minority in America. Hey, babe. And the trends identified in the survey are fueling anxiety about the place of Christianity in society. So the fact that whites are not no longer the minority, I mean the majority of Christianity, and they're seeing a shift in the way people are looking and thinking about religion. A lot of Christians, if you notice, are becoming a little bit scared. Okay, they are identifying and having a little bit. They said anxiety, right, about their place, the place of Christianity in society. It says that if you look in the United States, people who self-identify as Christians make up 63% of the U.S. population in 2021. Look, down from 75% a decade ago. So it done dropped 12% in just 10 years. Okay? That identify as Christian in the United States. And let's just broaden this out. Like, let's look at this Western. I think in Western countries, there's a decline in Christianity. People are starting to abandon it. But what about melanated people? What they call so-called black people, right? So-called black people. Hold on, before I go into that, yo, let's look at what's going on in the chat room. Look at the comments. Hey, I'm gonna pull you up. So, interesting. Dr. Malachi York wrote a book called The Degrees of Christicism. Spoke about a lot of the things you're speaking about now. I got you. And I read Malachi. Malachi Z. York. I got the Holy Tablets, right? And he dropped a lot of jewels in general. And it says I read that book I read that book when I was a teenager, and it opened my eyes up. Back in the late '90s, I started to get on Malachi Z. York back in the late '90s. I knew people who had lived in Eaton, Georgia, with him, and I started reading some of his books. One of the other things that he talked about that kind of play a part to this is that the fact that whites being a minority now, but just being a minority in America in general, because Mexican, Latinos are coming in America, but the fact that they're mixing. Malachi made mention of people called neutroids or something to that effect, and those neutroids were light-skinned people. He said those were the people that were going to take and become the majority in the world. And so when you look in America right now, they say whites are going to be the minority by 2050 or something like that, and that you can best believe you can see today there's such an expansion of biracial couples intermixing with whatnot. So even with that, I can see that having playing an impact on how religion is also looked at. You see what I'm saying? So I just feel like there are a lot of factors that are going into the decline of westernized religion. But let's look at what we call so-called melanated people, right? They call them so-called black people, the melanated people of the world, the melanated people here in this place. It says that most black worshipers attend predominantly black congregations, right? And see a role for religion in fighting racial justice. But it says, but generational patterns are changing. So the younger generation is not embracing the church in no way in capacity like they used to. Okay, this is also from the Pew Institute research. Okay, to go further into that, look, It says fully 60% of adults who go to a religious service, whether every week or just a few times a year, they say they attend religious services at places where people are most melanated. Okay, so that ain't really changed, but 60% of the people, I think that has changed. There are, I think less, I think there are more people of melanated people that are going to so-called white churches. But it says that these trends are changing. Okay, the patterns for so-called black people or melanated people in America, they are also changing as well. Okay, it says that so-called blacks or melanated people, adults. Now, I've taken this from the Pew Research. So when they use that word black, that's not me using the word black. Okay, melanated adults are less religious and less engaged in black churches than in older generations. So even among the melanated people, right, they are not embracing the church on the same capacity. Okay? Um so what I am saying is that the trend of, I feel like, of melanated people are also changing, right? Right. I do travel from east to west, brother, but I'm not in the lodge. Not in the lodge. It says that, let's look at this. I, I wanted to look at this too, right? Because we talked about New Age, right? New Age is becoming a more popular. You can see that Christianity is falling off amongst melanated people and falling off with so-called white people, right? So what are they starting to get into? More people are going and gravitating to New Age. New Age is becoming such a like, you see a lot more New Age concepts, in popular culture. You see what I'm saying? It's just, you see it. So one of the things that I'm seeing is with melanated people. Look, it say right here. This is coming from an article in Baltimore. It just said witches in Baltimore. Young black women or melanated women are leaving. Look, leaving Christianity and embracing. It says African witchcraft. Okay, and digital covens. Okay, so that's funny, like how they use African witchcraft, because I mean, like, that's not really a concept that we would use to to validate our spirituality. That's more like a Western, you know, uh, you know, perverted use of the word witchcraft. But for the sake of understanding, basically what they're saying is that more sisters are going into African spirituality. Okay, probably like voodoo, hoodoo, you know, things of that nature. Okay, so now since we went through all that, now right now this part right here, if y'all got any, like, please, if y'all in the chat room, throw some questions, right? Because what I'm gonna look at now is I'm gonna spin it on the head, right? What about the fact that the argument is that it's a conspiracy? It's a conspiracy that the churches, that they're trying to destroy the churches, right? They're trying to destroy the churches because the the, the church is of God, and Jesus and this and that, and so anything that's trying to disrupt the work of Jesus and Christianity, it's got to be of the devil. It's got to be of the devil. So the powers that be, which we may let's call them what we've known them to be, the so-called Illuminati or the boogeyman or the the elite, okay, the Tavistock, The people we talk about, the people that are privateers, the people with um, the private institutions that try to change the way society is. Okay, the Illuminati, as I say, those people are supposed to be conspiring against humanity to take them out of religion, right? I like that. Hey, I gotta. It's not. Hey, New Age. Now everyone will acknowledge God every day. I say. I say. I like that. I like that. But what I'm saying to you is that, like the one my brother, hey, I hear you, man. 8.0, I hear you, KB. You KB. It's not even really a conspiracy. I mean, like, it's what I'm saying is that people from the Christian side see it as a conspiring against them to get rid of them. But is it really that? Like, if you look at it under Christianity for 2,000 years, roughly for at least 1,200 of those 2,000 or more, Christianity like kind of ruled and caused chaos under the dome under the authority of European Catholicism, right? European Catholicism became the dominant energy of the Christian movement for the majority of time that Christianity been around. Those Europeans started to want to get from under the thumb of Catholicism. And that's where secret societies come from for the European. The Europeans started secret societies because they couldn't speak upon these things in the public. So, hence, you get the Illuminati. The Illuminati was an organization that said that they're going to do these things in secret, but their objective was to get rid of the things that seem to be holding their people back. And the one thing is religion. The other was the monarchy. So when you look at Adam Weishaupt and the Illuminati and all that, their goal was to like get rid of, you know, what we know as, organized religion, and to bring about more from a scientific, or allowing you to come up with your own understanding. Now, is that bad? You know what I'm saying? Like, to a Christian, I think it is bad because it's like, oh, it's an attack against my faith, right? But not looking at what the whole grand scheme of the faith has done. They kill people off for not thinking like them. They kill people called witches. They destroyed knowledge. Okay, they labeled anything that was scientific demonic, and so it was like they were. I mean, literally, they sent Europe. They sent Europe back a good 500-800 years in technology and all kind of things. Like, the Dark Age was because of Catholicism. You know what I mean? Like, the Europeans went into a Dark Age and wasn't allowed to study any of this stuff because of religion. Religion. If it wasn't it religion, wasn't it Christianity, Catholicism that ultimately destroyed the library in Alexandria? All this knowledge, all this technology that had been accumulated for over 1,000 years was literally wiped out because of Christian ideology. Okay? So when you understand it from that point, when you start to see people wake up and start to fight back, those people would be considered the enemy to the church, the enemy to them, because that was the dominant force. And so, to me, as you start to evolve, and as America was based off of Masons, right? Like everybody talk about America being Christian, but originally America was a Masonic, based on Masonic principles. Like George Washington and all them. Come on, man. Those he wore his apron in public all the time. Like he was like he probably like one of the most proud Masons. You know, I know. You know, I've seen is George Washington and Thomas Jefferson and all them and Benjamin Franklin. Those were Masons. Those people are the forefathers. They the ones that said church was separate from state because they didn't want church to dominate. They didn't want church to take over and dominate like it did in Europe. So America wasn't necessarily created for Christianity, but Christianity was a majority of people's religion in the West, and so people brought religion with them to America. I mean, you got the Pilgrims or the Amish, okay, Puritans. All these people came over with religion. If you see how they live now, you know they're religious. So those people did come over, but the government of America was based on Masonic principles. Period. Right? People don't realize that in America, in the 1820s, there was like a big movement of Renaissance in America, and it spread across the United States. And that's when people started to get more religious. Coupled with the fact that, you know, Christianity started to get into politics. And so even to like today, the dominant of Christianity in American society, you know, is big. But that's not what it was set up for. So what we see today as people start to back up or get away from Christianity and they're starting to go back into their true selves. The church is fighting back and calling it, you know, hypocrisy and calling it, you know, blasphemy for people to walk away from the church. Okay? It says, what is my brother saying? Why is Europe the only continent that doesn't start with an A? It ends with an A. Hey, right. You know what? I mean, that's true, right? I mean, Europe, I don't know what Europe is. Europe is just like a small conglomerate of, you know, Albions. Europe ain't even that big. You know, they make Europe way bigger on the maps so they can look like they are some kind of importance because they're using some kind of trick. Not, you know, I ain't gonna say technology, but they're using the illusion of they're in control and they got the power, so they use these illusions to make us believe that they're greater than what they are. You know, most of our people think that, you know, that they can control the weather and the rain and they can do whatever and all and they can destroy the world, and that is all what they want us to believe. They want us to actually believe that they're more powerful than what they really are. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying that they haven't made some strides, but the tactic of fear is probably their biggest weapon is fear. And, you know, and ignorance. And for me, living in this last 2,000 years, they basically took a religion that was supposed to liberate people and they used it to enslave them. And they used it to bring ignorance and darkness to the people. And we're in a time of enlightenment, okay? A time of change. And that's, to me, that is why I feel like if I had to put a time frame on it, I'd say within the next, I'm going to say next 50 to 60 years. In the next 50 to 60 years, what I'm saying will be very prominent. You know, it didn't, like, people don't realize it didn't take long for, like, the Roman Empire to become Christian. The Roman Empire became Christian within 100 years of it becoming the state religion. So, as people start to move away from Christianity in the way that we know it, I mean, it's happening at an alarming rate. Like, man, I mean, do you see how many people on Facebook that change their names to some kind of African name? Now that don't mean they all of them ain't Christian, but what it's saying is they're moving away from the the they're moving away from the mainstream point of view, and they're starting to move away. Like I said, when I was coming up in the '90s, it was strange to be a vegan. Like I was vegan, or I was becoming vegan in the late '90s, and I was practicing African, um, you know, type religious. I was into a SAR set. I was going to rituals, things of that nature, which, to everybody else was looking crazy. But tell me today, how many of us can walk around and do these things and not be criticized like we used to? So what I'm saying is, you can tell, you can see it in the way we move that things have changed. You know. So like I said, everybody in the building, like the video, subscribe to the channel. Check out our other videos. Like I did videos on voodoo, talking about the voodoo and the origin of it, and just like these things are becoming um, more dominant in so-called black people's lives. You know, shit, probably 1 out of 4 of your friends is practicing probably witchcraft, and I know that sounds like that's like 25% of the population, but I mean like it would have been like it would have been like 5% 10 years ago. I mean, like 20 years ago, it's like probably 5% of the people I know was practicing, you know, non-Western, religious doctrine. But like we said, it's time for us to go back to our forefathers and foremothers, and so we're starting to see us do that. What does that mean for us? It just means it's a change. It's time for a change with a new religious organization. So you might start to see or religious organizations that are non-Christian start to sprout up and take their place. And you're going to start to see Christians and people like that just try to catch up or stay caught up with what's going on in the world. They're going to start changing too. So you start to see more New Age practices in Christianity. Like think about this. You'll hear about meditation in Christianity today. You would have never heard people meditating and whatnot in Christianity 20 years ago. So the fact of meditation, transcendental meditation, things of that nature, understanding um, things like that, you can see New Age is creeping into Christianity. And some New Agers have incorporated Jesus into the New Age movement. So it's definitely a change, and things are moving in a different direction. So that's my thoughts on it, y'all. Please check me out. Like I said, check out any books by Bandele Elamine, and I'm gonna get up out of here, y'all. Peace.